our colleague from the great state of Florida, Congressman Ted Deutch.
Well, thank you very much to my dear friend, Congressman Wasserman Schultz, and thank you for your committed work to making sure that not only this special order hour takes place tonight, but for your work in ensuring that Jewish American Heritage Month became a reality. You're to be commended for that, and I think we're all the better for it, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Mr. Speaker, I rise to celebrate the 7th annual Jewish American Heritage Month, an opportunity for our nation to recognize the many contributions of Jewish Americans throughout our history. America's Jewish community has helped shape our country since its inception. Jewish Americans have courageously served in our armed forces in every major conflict in our nation's history. They've also helped drive America as a powerhouse of economic innovation, contributing key advances in everything from science and medicine to the law and the arts. Today, as we mark this year's Jewish American Heritage Month here in Congress, I'd like to highlight our community's tremendous contributions to American social policy. Jewish Americans have a long history of shaping our political priorities as a nation. I'm proud to be part of a community that has led efforts to protect the most vulnerable, to ensure fairness in our justice system, to promote economic opportunity, and to safeguard the religious freedoms and liberties of all Americans. We need look no further than Social Security, a program that helps keep 50 million Americans economically secure each year. Serving on the committee that helped establish Social Security was Wilbur Cohen, a man who eventually was appointed by President Kennedy as an Assistant Secretary for Legislation of Health, Education, and Welfare. As a member of President Johnson's cabinet, Wilbur Cohen's influence over issues that impact America's seniors continued to grow, and many today regard him as the man who built Medicare. Jewish Americans also took an active role in our nation's struggle for civil rights. In the 1950s and 60s, Jewish Americans were passionately engaged in the struggle for civil rights. Rabbi Stephen Wise, a great American Jewish leader, was one of the founders of the NAACP, and he made the case that civil rights were not only a Jewish issue, but civil rights was a quintessential Jewish issue. He understood and believed firmly that the Jewish community, that the nation, America, was stronger when prejudice was defeated and when equal rights were extended to all. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. in Selma. And in reflecting upon that march, Rabbi Heschel said, "When I marched in Selma, my legs were praying." It was an understanding, his commitment to what he viewed as essentially the holy work of lifting up all Americans and ensuring equal rights for all. Several prominent Jewish activists, including Michael Schwerner and Andrew Goodman, lost their lives along with African-American activist James Chaney while fighting for the right to vote alongside organizers in the South. And perhaps there is no greater indication of Jewish Americans' involvement in the struggle for civil rights than the fact that both the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, two landmark pieces of civil rights legislation, were both drafted as legislation at the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. As a Jewish American, I'm honored to be part of a community that throughout our nation's history has helped make America a more fair and a more just nation. A nation where opportunity extends to all, where everyone can be lifted up by being given the chance to succeed. Commitment to ensuring that seniors live lives of dignity, where poor receive the support that they need when the times are most difficult. And finally, it is the respect for every American, the dignity of every American that is recognized and fought for still to this day by so many in the Jewish community. I am so grateful to my friend Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz for helping to ensure that we had the opportunity to share these thoughts here on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives this evening. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I thank you for it, and I will yield back to my friend.
Thank you so much for your commitment, for your leadership. It is really a privilege to fight side by side with you on behalf of our constituents in South Florida, and on behalf of the values that matter so deeply to our community. It really, I've watched for many years, actually before you were elected to public office, your commitment to the U.S.-Israel relationship and to a strong and vibrant Jewish state of Israel as an AIPAC activist, and then as a state senator, now as a member of Congress and a colleague. And thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Thank you. It's now my privilege to recognize a newer colleague